Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's good to see you here. And I feel especially honored to introduce our guest this evening, Vanessa Bush. I was a good friend of, we were talking earlier, of Ed Lewis, who founded Essence magazine some years ago. And I haven't seen him lately. That may be because he's so busy spending all the money he got when he sold Essence to Time Inc., and which made it possible for them to bring in Vanessa and other things. Let's hope that you're a beneficiary of all of that largesse, Vanessa. As you know, Vanessa Bush is the editor-in-chief of Essence magazine, and I didn't know about her background, and I discovered that what she did at Essence, it's very interesting because she had every job you could possibly have if you want to learn about a magazine and end up running it. She was the beauty person, she was the fashion person, she was the executive editor of the magazine, she was the acting editor of the magazine before she became the editor-in-chief of the magazine. And that is the way life is supposed to be. It doesn't usually happen that way. And it also happens that before she got there, some years ago, she attended this institution after she graduated from Harvard cum laude with a BA in American literature and English studies. And she attended here as a magazine concentrator. Those of you who are in the new curriculum don't get to choose a concentration. You're all going to be multi-capacity journalists. She's a multi-capacity journalist, having been a magazine concentrator. So it's a very interesting thing because, to me, to see how she has done with this magazine, and I'm very interested in hearing her talk about it. She lives with her family across the George Washington Bridge, and as you can see, there were no traffic problems this evening, since she not only made it here with us, she made it to an earlier meeting with a group of students who loved having an exchange of ideas with her. So Vanessa, why don't you come up, and it's great to have you.
So much, and thank you for having me tonight. It's my sincere pleasure to be here. As Professor Nabowski said, I attended Columbia in 1997, and so I thought before I start talking a little bit about Essence, or a lot about Essence, I wanted to kind of roll it back a little bit and explain to you how I actually ended up here at Columbia and how I got to Essence. So, I was working at Glamour magazine in their fashion department, and I had worked there for about 3 years as an associate editor and then as a staff writer. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought I got a really great foundation in women's service journalism at Glamour. And I would have stayed, but I wanted to be able to write about different things. I wanted to be able to write about whatever I wanted to write about. And I just felt maybe a little bit pigeonholed there, so I decided the best thing that I could do and what would kind of help me build my confidence in being a journalist that could write about lots of different things was to come to journalism school. And I have to tell you that everyone, including the editor I worked with and my parents, thought I was crazy. No, seriously. They were like, you're already working in the industry, why would you go back to school to learn about an industry that you're already in? And as I explained to them, it was really important to me to feel like I had a very strong foundation in reporting and being able to tackle any subject. And I liked the fact that being here, you had to take classes in radio and broadcasting, and then it was called new media, and lots of different things. And I thought it was really important. It would make me a more well-rounded journalist. So I applied and got in and was thrilled. And so I did my year here. And while I was here as a magazine concentrator, but I also did a lot of freelancing on the side, just to kind of make ends meet, which was great, and which is important. And while I was here, a number of the professors would send you out to interview at different places. I ended up interviewing at Time Inc., meeting some people there, and that's how I ended up getting my position at Life magazine. I was at Life magazine for about 3 years as a staff writer, and I loved it because it was general interest publication. I traveled, I wrote about just about anything. I mean, you name it, I wrote about it, and I absolutely loved it. But the magazine went out of business in the year 2000. And then I had to make a decision, okay, so what am I gonna do next? Well, I'd always loved Essence, and actually I had interviewed at Essence probably twice before I ended up finally getting a position there. And every time I interviewed there, just like the timing just wasn't quite right, or it just didn't feel like the right fit. And sometimes you just have to know that in your gut, that this isn't the right move for me to make. So even though I knew eventually I wanted to work at Essence, I did not accept those other two jobs that were offered before. But in 2000, it just so happened that they were looking for a fashion and beauty editor, and they reached out to me again, and I decided that time was the right time, and I accepted. And I've been there pretty much ever since. That was in 2000. I've been there almost 14 years in various positions. And what I love, I was telling a bunch of students earlier that what I loved about, and why I've stayed so long at Essence, is that whenever I started feeling a little like, I think it's time for a change, it's time to move and do something different, they were always open and willing to hear me out and talk to me about, well, what else would you like to do? And that's how I was pretty much able to move through the different positions. Like, I would be in a position for about 1.5 years or maybe 2, and I'd start feeling like, I want to try something different. And they allowed me to do that. And I just mention that because I think it's really important when you're trying to find a position that's the right fit for you, that you feel really comfortable that this place will allow you to grow. And Essence has always been a place where I was allowed to grow. And that's why I'm there to this day. How I ended up in this position is I was executive editor for a number of years, actually left the publication for about 3 years because I had this feeling like, I don't know if magazine journalism is gonna make it. This is around 2008, and everybody was talking about like magazines were dead, and it was a lot of doom and gloom, and I just felt like, I don't know if I have anything else to fall back on, or if I were to fall back on something, what would that be? And I decided to take some time off and to pursue another passion, which was food. So I went to culinary school part-time at night. I freelanced during the day. I wrote a food blog. I wrote for a couple of different online publications about food. I did some food photography, and it was great. It was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot about the online space, the digital space. It has served me well coming back to Essence. So all that time was well spent. The reason I came back to Essence, quite honestly, was because I really missed it. There's something very special about this brand, which I'm going to share with you some of that in this presentation. But there's something really special about a brand that people just absolutely love, adore, have such an emotional connection to, that I can't explain it. It has such resonance in our community, and to be able to take everything that I've learned over the years and apply that to a magazine that serves our community is really, really special. I consider it a privilege. I'm blessed to be able to do it, and it's a huge responsibility as well, and I never take that for granted. So I'm going to stop talking right now about that and start showing you a little bit about what is so great and wonderful about brand Essence. Now, there's a video that's supposed to start here first, and I want to make sure.
I grew up with Essence, as Alfred said, from the very first issue. And what a thrill and a delight to see yourself reflected on the pages when you are a young, growing woman. I believed everything Essence said. Essence was my Bible.
Women, they say, when I saw you, I knew I could be anything I wanted to be.
Remember Essence when I was in college. I remember Essence when it first came out, and it's one of those things, like Ntozake Shange says, you don't know it's missing until you have it.
I'm so happy that I was born into a world where Essence exists.
There's so many of us to celebrate, aren't there?
Being born and raised in England, Essence was a source to be able to look and, to see Angela Bassett on the front, and the various aesthetics, skin colors, hair types, that I could identify with.
The whole point of life is to dream big. When the world gets rough and you forget who you are as a black woman, and that magazine comes every month, flip through the pages, go, oh, right, that's who I am. Beautiful, a queen, a goddess. That's right. Now I remember. Now I can do what I'm supposed to be doing. Thank you, Essence.
I think that video is a great representation of what Essence, the brand, is. Essence is more than just a magazine. It really is a multi-platform media product. Oops, I'm sorry. I wanted to walk you a little bit through our mission statement because I think it says a lot about who we are and what we do and why we do it. The whole Essence started in 1970. It was started by 4 black men who felt that it was really important that there be a publication that does justice to black women, that really does justice to black women, that celebrates us, inspires us, lifts us up, and showcases who we are, all of who we are. And we still take that mission very seriously today. Essence does tell black women's stories like no one else can. We're authoritative, insightful. We bring you the black woman's experience. We showcase the best of who we are and who we hope to be. And every single page, from the storytelling to the images to the service that we provide, is meant to celebrate us in our totality. It's a huge part of why it's been around for 44 years this May. Here's a quote from the First Lady about Essence. Each issue of Essence tells black women that we are beautiful, we are smart, we are strong, our opinions matter, we should be fearless. Essence is a community of support and a source of inspiration. Here we can be proud of ourselves and of one another. Oprah Winfrey says, Essence is me. Essence is every black woman who grew up reading the pages of the magazine and every black woman who wanted to be a part of something bigger than the world told her she could be. And Kerry Washington, who was one of our honorees for Black Women in Hollywood a number of years ago, said how lucky I am as a black woman to have always lived in a world where there was an amazing magazine on newsstands with a gorgeous black woman on the cover for me to look to and emulate and help me feel like I had a place within the spectrum of beauty in this country and in this world. we like to say at Essence, only Essence can. There are certain things only Essence can do. One of those things is that be a strong multi-platform brand. Our magazine has a circulation of 1.1 readership, pass-along readership total 7 million. Website and mobile combined, 1.7 million reach. Social reach is 1.9 million. Our newsletters, hundreds of thousands. The Essence Festival last year had 543,000 people come through New Orleans, 4th of July weekend, for a 4-day event. That was our highest attendance in the 19-year history of the festival. So our connections run strong and deep. 1 in 3 women read Essence. And the engagement with Essence is really remarkable when you compare it to some of the other titles in our competitive set. I mean, for people to say that 71% consider this one of their favorite reads, 60% have read 3 or 4 of the last 4 issues. They spend 45 minutes of time reading Essence. I mean, that's remarkable, especially in this day and age when everything is so immediate and instant, and grabbing someone's attention is really difficult. We're really very proud of the fact that people are extremely engaged with Essence. They also don't consider the ads in Essence to be annoying. They feel that it adds to the environment of the publication, and they trust the ads that we run. The Essence formula is something that we like to say is the 3 E's. So it's about empowerment, and a little bit of edge and a little bit of escape. And empowerment is it's a message that kind of runs throughout the magazine, whether you're talking about the beautiful images of Black women, all their shapes, sizes, skin tones, radiant, whether you're talking about beauty images or whether you're talking about service information that helps you to manage your finance and your career and your health and your wellness, or whether you're talking about stories that give you information on how to live your best life outside of work, at home, with your family. And then the edge and the escape are the pieces I think that really help distinguish us. Edge we see as those stories that cover issues in our community that are really important to our audience. It's something that Essence has always been a part of Essence's DNA, and it's something we feel is extremely, extremely important to maintain in the magazine. So you will always find something in the book that talks about what's going on in our community. You'll always find something in the book that may expose or dig deeper into issues that are of concern to our community. That's just something that we do, that we must do, because we feel it's like a mandate. There's a lot of what some people might consider advocacy journalism in Essence, but we don't really see it that way. We see it as we have to call attention to the issues, injustices, the fights that are really important. If no one else raises a voice to talk about those concerns, we have to. We just feel like it's a very important part of who we are. And then that escape is, we know that as Black women, we really are the cornerstone of the community. We do so much for everyone. And sometimes the last person that we do something for is ourselves. So it's really important to us, as a part of that Essence formula, to make sure there's a little bit of escape in the magazine as well. There should be something that, lets you know it's okay to give yourself permission to relax, to take care of yourself, to travel somewhere, to do something that's for you. That's really important piece. And when we look at this formula, we literally sit in a story meeting and kind of walk through the book as we're planning it and make sure that we have enough of all of these elements to mix, because we really want her to have a very well-rounded experience. These are just some of the stories that we've done recently. I just wanted to kind of walk you through them, only because I wanted you to see the diversity of what Essence is and does, if you're not already familiar with it. Beauty is a very important part of what we do. there's not a lot of titles where you can go to learn about makeup that's for our skin tones, hairstyles that work for our texture, hair texture. That's something that is, people consider a destination point in Essence Magazine, our beauty and hair. We also have this, what I love about Essence is that we have a great relationship and trust with people who we profile in the magazine. Some of these, some celebrities may go to another title, and they may not share nearly as much personal information as they share with Essence, and they share it with us because they trust that we have their best interests at heart, that that we want to share their story in a way that's meaningful and that's deep and rich. And because they know that we'll handle their stories with care, they're very open and willing to share their stories with us. This particular story, Jennifer Hudson had not really done a major interview with a title since the verdict came through after the deaths in her family, and she had been very, very concerned about talking about it because she didn't want it to seem like she was being that she was looking for sympathy, or that she was just kind of making trying to she really was concerned that people would think that her talking about it was like she was trying to be not honor her family. That's the best way I can say it. She was really very concerned about that. But after some time, and I'm talking to her about, but your story could really help a lot of other people, she was willing to open up to us. And then, as I was mentioning, the issue stories. This is a story in particular about the Affordable Care Act and how there are a number of people who did not qualify for it and had fallen through the cracks, and this was the impact on them. And that's really, when we do stories on issues, we always try to find the human angle. We always want to talk about how it's impacting on, we don't want to just talk about policy, we want to talk about how it's personally impacting on people. And then we also, we're not just doing stories about domestic issues, we do international coverage as well, and obviously with the passing of Mr. Mandela, we could not let that pass without doing a tribute to him. And then, of course, in the magazine, we also cover things like sex and love and money and power, two very important sections of the magazine, and our health and wellness. It's a very well-rounded, and that's very purposeful. Just a little bit about our presence online. We are one of the few titles in the building at Time Inc. that has really great conversion rate from print to tablet. And that just speaks to this audience's engagement and over-indexing with technology. We're early adapters. We want, so it's important for us to have that presence. And these are just a few numbers about that. And right now, our mobile experience is outpacing desktop just a bit. And of course, social media reach is great. One of my favorite things that we do in social media is every day on Twitter, we have a lunchtime debate it's called Essence Debates. If you want to, @Essence Debates is the address. And every day we take on a different topic. It could be anything from someone was fired for wearing their hair natural, or it could be how people are feeling about the Trayvon Martin case, or it could be anything. But every day it's a daily destination, 12:30 to 1:30. And it's a great way to be in the conversation and to keep the conversation going. I also want to share that we're more than obviously editorial, print, and digital. We also do live events. Black Women in Music is, this was our 5th year doing Black Women in Music, where each year we honor a woman who's usually an up-and-coming woman who is making great strides in the music industry. This year we honored Emily Sandé. In the past, we've honored Solange, Leon LaHavis. We also, this year, celebrated our 7th annual Black Women in Hollywood Luncheon, and this is where we honor women in the industry, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, behind the scenes. And what's important about both of these events is that, and the reason we started doing them is because a lot of times these are women who just don't get a lot of recognition for what they do. I mean, Emily Sandé, for example, was one, outsold Adele. And she was not nominated for anything for the Grammys this past year. So we always want to be able to recognize those women and let them know that their achievements matter. This year we honored at Black Women in Hollywood Lupita Nyong'o, Shobun Isaacs, who's the president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and Ava DuVernay, a director. A little bit about that.
Today's luncheon promises to be another memorable and historic gathering.
I want to take this opportunity to talk about beauty, Black beauty, dark beauty.
What are you most looking forward to this year?
This is like a girlfriend's day. People who you love and admire, you don't get to see often, and you come together, everybody is looking good.
I feel like I have been welcomed into a family that I considered myself a member of from afar, and now finally I'm sitting at the table.
And I like this event so much because when I'm here, my mind shuts out the outside noise.
I dreamt of achieving many things in Hollywood, but I never, ever could have imagined this.
And perhaps our biggest event, and this is our 20th anniversary year, is the Essence Festival that we hold in New Orleans over the 4th of July weekend. And it's what's great about the Essence Festival is it's not just concerts at night. There's a whole daytime experience that happens. It's all free, where we have workshops and keynote speakers like the Al Sharptons of the world, the Cory Bookers of the world, and panel discussions on everything from health, wellness, relationships. Last year we had a mayor's panel where they talked about some of the challenges that have been going on in different cities and trying to come to some resolutions and some solutions. Just a couple of things to know about the festival. It really is the largest live event in the U.S., bigger than Comic-Con, Coachella, South by Southwest, and Sundance. When we have, attendees spend an average of 4 hours at the Ernest Memorial Convention Center each day and 24.4 minutes with each sponsor. Sponsorship is a huge part of the festival. And literally, it's almost like Essence it's not even known as 4th of July weekend in New Orleans. It's now known as Essence Weekend. This past year was tremendous, tremendous. Just a couple of stats, I won't take you through them all, but this was the first year that we did, there was a lot of firsts last year. First time that we did a family day and turned it into 4 days. We were expecting maybe 3,000 people, 55,000 people showed up. First time that we had a media partnership with MSNBC. They broadcast from the convention center and brought in a number of their talent to New Orleans, including Chris Matthews, Al Sharpton, Melissa Harris Perry, Joy Reid. It was really, and they every day they had a lot of interaction with the people who were attending and asked questions. It was great. It was really great. So that's it for this part of the presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed all of that. I know it was a lot of video, but you got to experience it. It's not something that I can really put into words. You just have to be there to know what the feeling is like. And people are so, just so grateful and happy in that space with all the different events. It's just an extension of taking it from the page to the stage. It's one of my favorite things that we do. And now I'll just stop talking and let you ask questions, starting with Mr. Investor.
Thank you. Let me come sit. Thank you, that's great. And I'm going to take moderator's privilege of asking the first couple of questions, but this is really your chance to ask your questions and make your comments. So this is an inspiring talk you've given, and you've totally persuaded me that if I were a black woman, I should subscribe right away. But my question is, being a male, white male of a certain age,
Yes.
make the case as to why I should subscribe. I want to, but tell me, what am I missing? So.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because it's not, the magazine has multicultural appeal. It's not just, it's targeted toward black women,
Right.
but 75% of our, and 75% of our readers are women, but 25% are male.
25%.
Yes, and
Right.
we get letters all the time from women of many different cultures. Most recently, we got a letter from a young woman who read a story that we did in our September issue that was about unconscious bias. And she said, I so wish that this story had run in many publications. Like, she's like, I just happened to come across this, but it's just so important that people know this. So it's like, if you want to get into what is important to black women, then you would want to pick up Essence.
Great. Sign me up. So you got it. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm curious, whether the consensus about what's happened to magazines in general, which is that they're in a lot of trouble, has affected Essence in the same way as many other magazines, or whether because you have defined your audience in a special way and been very smart about it. And the other thing that interests me, by the way, as a potential subscriber, is just to see excellent journalism. And I know that you produced that, and you did it before you came to Essence. You wrote about childhood obesity, and you wrote about teenage dating and all the love-hate stuff that went on there.
Yes.
So I'm interested from that point of view. But how has the general problem affecting magazines affected Essence, if it has at all? So.
What I think is really what is so great about Essence, the brand, is that we have many different outlets. So it's not just the magazine. We have the digital space. We have our live events. We have a lot of different things that can help support, and each one supports the other. Right. So the magazine is the mothership. So, but you wouldn't have the live events without the magazine, because it literally is going from the things that we activate on the stage in those live events come and inspired by things that we've done in the magazine. Right. Same thing goes for in the digital, in the digital space. The things that we talk about in the magazine spark conversation that we have in social media and online. So each one, obviously, magazine business is tough for everyone right now, but we benefit from the fact that we are very diverse in what we offer. So each one supports the other.
Okay, great. How do you choose your covers, and what's your best-selling cover of all time?
Oh, wow. Okay. Choosing covers is very complicated. Sometimes it depends on what's going on in the zeitgeist. Sometimes it depends on a project that someone may be doing. There's a lot of debate and conversation about the covers. I mean, a lot.
And do you make the final decision?
Yes.
Good.
Mm-hmm. I do. But it's a very collaborative process, and I mean, a lot of what we do at Essence is collaborative. Right. We have a small, tight, and very passionate team, and I encourage everyone to share their opinions. Obviously, I have to make the final decision, but I do, sometimes, we can all have blinders, and you don't want to, somebody may see something that you don't see. So, yeah, I mean, we talk quite a bit about whether someone is, the challenge that we have at Essence is that it's not just who's going to be on the cover, but are they cover worthy to this audience? This audience is very, very, has very high standards, and they have very strong opinions about who they want to see on the cover and who they don't want to see on the cover. And when we put someone on the cover that they don't agree with, we hear about it. They're very vocal, and that's okay. I mean, that's a part of the relationship that we have with the audience.
Great. Why don't you guys join in? If you have questions, comments, we've got a microphone right up here, and feel free. If Vanessa has answered all your questions, she's free to go, but no,
Okay,
seriously.
So I have
Hi.
a question. I know that you've been in Essence for 14 years now, you mentioned. And I kind of wanted to know, how have you seen your audience change in terms of what Black women want to see from your magazine?
I think the biggest change has probably been that need to be in the digital space and to understand what she wants from us in the digital space versus what she wants in the magazine. Also, that same can be said for social media as well. What the kinds of conversations she wants to have with us in social media aren't necessarily everything that we cover in the book. And social media has to do with current events, fashion, beauty, sex, and relationships. In digital, it's very much the same, but we also like to layer in breaking news into that because that's a very important part of what people want to see from us. That's the biggest change. But in terms of just the core subject matter that people want from us, it's pretty much what it's been since its inception. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
If you want to say who you are, feel free.
Okay, great. My name is Poppy. I'm with the MS program. So my question for you is, a lot of us are young journalists, we're up and coming, we have some barriers in terms of our gender, in terms of our race. So from you, who's been in the business for a long time, have there been specific moments in your career where the challenges were huge in terms of exactly that? And if so, how did you get through it, and what strategies did you employ?
So your question is, have I faced barriers because of race or gender? Probably. I mean, probably. There probably have been instances where I may not have been considered for a story or an assignment, maybe. But what I like to think is that that's been superseded by my just sheer relentlessness in wanting to cover what I wanted to cover, and finding a way and making a way to make it happen. And sometimes that's not just what you do, sometimes that's the allies that you have. It's the people advocating for you, the people who believe in you and believe that you have the talent to do the work. And sometimes it's a matter of time. Sometimes you're just not ready for it yet. Sometimes I think, don't get me wrong, there's definitely bias, in life. But I think the challenge and the opportunity is to figure out how to get around it. And there are many ways to get around it. You just have to be smart enough and diligent enough, and sometimes just tenacious enough to push through it when there is a barrier.
Thank you. Thanks for addressing us.
Sure.
Does Essence have does Essence have a politics
section? Yeah, we talk about politics as well. I wish we could do more, It kind of ebbs and flows depending on what's going on in the zeitgeist at the time. For example, right before the elections, we did a huge story about voting rights, a couple of stories about that. We'll do some more again before the midterm elections this year.
Good. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Crystal Lee. I'm with Columbia School of Arts acting program, the MFA here with Angelica Gregory. And we were just talking, because we had media night yesterday at Low Library, and so we were out networking. And my question is, having a concentrated, or not necessarily a concentrated multicultural magazine, how do you continue to network with magazines that aren't focused on multicultural, but more so like what's in the now, if that makes sense?
You mean, how do you
continue to be able to network with other magazine publications that don't have a diverse or multicultural foundation?
But you still have that, unifying mission, I guess, of, information and serving up the information, right? One of the ways that we, that Essence kind of stays in the circle is that we participate in lots of industry organizations. We're part of the National Association. We're part of ASME. We're part of NABJ. We're part of lots of different organizations that put us in touch with a cross section of editors, and we feed off of each other, and that's a good thing. It's a great thing.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. You guys are just like, you're all journalists.
And I should
calm
mention,
down, calm down.
I should mention that Essence was just nominated for an ASME award, so this is very good news. June?
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi.
Can you talk about how the magazine approaches its online content differently from the magazine? And because we all have students here, and we all want to freelance for you, what do we have to do to pitch? And what do you pay?
Sure. Sure. We were having this conversation a little bit earlier. There's definitely a difference in the content that we have in the magazine versus what we do online. And part of that is deliberate because the belief at the time, a couple of years ago when we made some of the changes, is that people really wanted to focus on beauty, hair, relationships, celebrities. But then, we started to realize everybody does that. So what makes us distinctive? So next week, actually, we're relaunching the site, and we're adding more of that content in, like more breaking news, more issues, more health and wellness, more money and power kinds of articles that address us holistically, which is very much what the magazine does. But does that mean that every single article that's in the magazine is on the site? No, not at all. The site is really more immediate, and it kind of picks up whatever happens to be going on that day in the world. Same thing with social media. And the magazine just takes more of a kind of like a deeper look and focus. To pitch to us, you basically just need to write a really strong pitch letter to the editor of that particular section that you're interested in. Please have read many issues of the magazine before you pitch, because you may be pitching something that we just ran in the magazine. Please also, when you're sending your pitch, give some indication as to why this is relevant, why it's relevant now, and what kind of, why you? Like what insights do you have? What resources do you have? What connections do you have? What experts would you approach to carry out the article? That goes a long way towards convincing an editor, especially if they haven't had any experience working with you, that you can actually execute that idea. And the same thing kind of goes for digital as well. There are section editors for each part of the site as well, and you can pitch them, send them an email with your idea, and just but please know that we get so many pitches a lot, and sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes people get frustrated because it's like, I haven't heard back, it's been a week. It actually takes sometimes like 6 weeks before we're actually able to respond. I wish that could be shorter, but sometimes just the nature of the business and what we're doing. As you can see, the editors don't just work on the magazine, they don't just work on the site. Our editors also are integrated into every live event that we do. So they have a lot on their plates. So if you don't hear for a pitch, back on a pitch, please, be patient. But we encourage you. We love to get new pitches and fresh ideas.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Rahima. I was just wondering how much Time Inc. Influences what Essence does.
That's so funny. I get this question all the time, and it's just it's just curious to me because each magazine within Time Inc. they have their own way of being. They have their own style. They have their own energy, and so Time Inc. doesn't want to interfere with that. Part of the reason why they brought Essence under their umbrella is that they realize that this is a audience with value, and why mess with that? So someone was asking me earlier, do you have to get story approval on things that you write in the magazine? No, don't. I'm not asking the head of Time Inc. to approve a story idea. It's not how it works. They trust us to be really good editors and to do what we do well. Certainly, what's great and what I appreciate is that if there is an idea that we have and we want to see, is this something that we could do across titles? They're doing a lot more of that kind of collaboration. Then yes, then that does mean talking to other people in Time Inc. But for the most part, it's just us running the magazine.
And also now you kind of see online news media kind of, turning to new forms of storytelling in terms of like interactives.
Yes.
Does Essence have any plans of moving that direction, and in what ways?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'd love to do more. I think because our team is so small, sometimes, our ambition is bigger than what we can actually accomplish in a day. But definitely some of the areas where we want to do more is in online, in video, and, maybe some web series.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi.
So I always tell people that, Essence was a place that kind of was my foundation as far as journalism. So thank you. But so my question is, how were you able to, navigate once you left Essence? And then I guess what advice do you have to people that's kind of like in your position now? Because I kind of feel like I'm in that awkward phase of journalism. So what do you have to say?
I think one of the things that helped me a lot was that I had made a lot of friends in the business and had a lot of connections, and I just let people know what I was interested in. I didn't wait for them to kind of guess what my next move was going to be, or I just kind of put it out there. Like, this is what I think I would like to do. This is what I'm interested in right now, and how can you help me? And quite honestly, I can think of at least 3 jobs that I got because I let people know this is what I'm doing right now, and this is the kind of thing I'm interested in. And they just help me to connect to other people. So I would say that's one thing, is that, you have a huge, group of people, a huge pool of people to access. Use them, because people want to help you. And then the other thing is just be really, really clear about what it is. Once you decide what you want to do, just be really clear and focused on that, because it's very easy, I think, when you're freelancing to feel like sometimes, I'm just going to do anything, just so I can, and that may not necessarily be the best thing. I think because I was very focused on writing just about food and focused on that, it really helped me, and it helped build up my credibility in that space.
Thank you.
Sure.
Do you get a lot of submissions from agents for manuscripts comparatively to your knowledge in the magazine business, or not?
I mean, We get a lot of, because we have a very, and I don't know if this is answering your question, but because we have a pretty robust book section, and books is an area that is very important to our audience.
Right.
We get a lot of, yes, a lot of publishers approach us about, excerpting their books, and
Right.
and actually we do quite a bit of that from time to time, depending on who it is.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So the last couple of issues and covers have had a different look for Essence. And with Essence being such a legacy brand, I'm wondering, how do you decide how to bring the brand forward and kind of current as the years go on?
Sure. Well, that's where our consumer research and consumer marketing comes into play. We did some focus groups, I want to say, late last year, just to kind of see what people's feelings were about where the magazine was. And we talked to a cross-section of people who were loyalists, people who haven't picked up the magazine in a while, people who, used to be interested in the magazine but then stopped buying it for a while, as well as millennials, because everybody is, trying to answer that big question, what do millennials want, right? So we talked to a broad cross-section of people just to get a sense of how you feel about the magazine now and where would you like to see it go. And we got some really great feedback and information from all these different corners. And then we kind of just went back and thought about it. Well, what would be a way to satisfy some of the things that people brought up? How could we address them? And some of that meant looking at design and looking at how we could refresh some of the pages and how we could reorient people into the magazine, how could we change the pacing of the magazine. So next week, which is the official launch of the May issue, which is our anniversary issue, 44th anniversary issue, you'll notice that there's a different look to the magazine. It's a refresh, it's not a redesign, it's just kind of like helping, using some things with design to help audiences, readers have a better experience with the book. Yeah, but there's definitely, without those consumer insights, it's kind of hard to know what the audience wants if you don't ask her. I mean, we can all sit in a room and think we know, but you got to ask people who, the people who you want to be reading your book. So,
thank you.
Sure.
Hello, my name's Christina.
Hi.
I grew up outside of the U.S., and the power of Essence was still felt very much by myself and other girls that I grew up with, even though I didn't have the typical African-American experience. And I've noticed that Essence has chosen to highlight women like Emily Sande and Lupita who haven't had that same typical African-American experience. And I hope you know that the magazine has a powerful voice outside of the continental U.S. And I just wanted to know what plans or efforts do you make to incorporate more international perspective, like experiences of Black women outside of America, and to kind of, because that sisterhood exists in the Caribbean. Getting Essence, it was because nothing like this exists for women in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. of this stature and quality. So have you ever thought of an international edition or of incorporating more international stories?
Yes and yes. We've thought about both. My hope is that, at some point very soon, that we will be launching, Essence, an international edition, because we realize that really is, that there's a need there, and that that people want, that people would like to see that. And I would love to see that. I mean, I know when we travel, people tell us that it's really hard to find, people from the UK, people, in Africa say, it's really hard to find Essence. If it's there, it's usually because they bought it here and brought it there. And I think you're right. The world has changed so much, and it's just we're just all so much more global that there's really a space for that. So I'm hopeful that we would be able to do that. That's A. But in the meantime, yes, more international stories is something that Essence has always had, depending on what is going on in the world, has always tried to address different issues globally, and we'll continue to do that. But we have a new news editor, and that is an interest of hers in particular, to add more international coverage in the magazine. So I think you'll start to see more of that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sure.
And do you have any competitor or or to go back to an earlier question, are there any magazines that have informed Essence in the way you cover things? The old Ms. magazine, Ebony, anything out there that really does overlaps with what you do, or not really?
I mean, we're in our competitive set, we're kind of included in the women's service category. So we're compared with
Cosmopolitan.
Cosmos, some Marie Claire, Glamour, sometimes Red Book, and our and competitors in our space, Ebony, Jet. But also, it's not just magazines, it's also BT, it's also, there's, lots of different people we consider our competition.
Good, great. Well, any more questions? Good. We'll make you the last questioner unless someone has something they are burning to ask or say, contribute.
I don't think I really have a question, but I just want to say I love being here right now. And to start it off, I'm Teresa Tufor, and I am in high school senior. I came with my mentor, Michelle from NBC. And as I'm here, I'm just looking at everyone who is here, and I don't know, I'm just loving it. And
That's so great.
Just the choice of everyone choosing journalism. I wish, I was speaking to her that I wish that I would choose something like that, but for some reason I'm stuck on the health area, like the doctor, that kind of people. But I would wish that I would have that courage to choose something about writing, something about humans, something, like journalism. You were just talking about humans right here. So yeah, thank you all, and thank you for your choice, and you are inspirational. So thank you.
That's
thank
that's
you.
Lovely. Thank you. Oh, and I just wanted to say, you don't have to. Just if you decide to pursue health, that doesn't mean that you can't write at all. I have a really dear friend who is a doctor, but she just wrote her first book about how to about elder care. That's kind of her specialty, and it's great. So, yeah, opportunities are endless.
Hi, I have a really quick question. I'm not a journalist, I'm a publicist, and I've pitched Essence and have landed some things there a lot. And as just someone who follows a lot of media, I'm really interested and I've followed Essence for years, how is the brand competing with not only BET and other magazines, but the blog atmosphere? There's so many blogs in every genre, everyone talking to Black women. How do you all compete with the blogs?
It's like we're competing them, but we also see them as our friends too. They bloggers can definitely help us to get the message out about what we do, who we are, why it's important. So where we can, we have bloggers on our site, and I think we're going to be relaunching our hair channel. Hair is one area specifically where bloggers have really just taken that space full force. And so we're going to be relaunching our hair channel, and bloggers and vloggers is one area where we're really going to we're going to use that to help ramp up that channel, because we see that's what people really want. What they like, what bloggers bring to the space is that expertise. They can go deep into that one topic. And if you have a great personality and you connect with people, that's something that we would actually want to support and help, bring attention to the people who are really, it's just like when you're bringing attention to new writers, it's the same thing, kind of giving people an opportunity to be seen and to get the word out. And so we like to partner with them in that. But you're right, it's definitely, there's definitely, what I think has done is it has forced us all to think about how can we bring more of a voice to what we do in a way that brings people, that creates another connection and another way for them to engage with us.
Well, this is great. I think you've got a lot of new partners tonight, a lot of new contributors, at least one new subscriber, and a whole bunch of great things. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having
Great.
me. Thank you.
Terrific. Great.